But I didn't know where you were on there, so.
Hi. Good, how are you? We need some time where you really take some time to talk about your program.
I had a great presentation last week. We had a big.
Well, yeah, it was great, but that's what I mean is I feel like there's so much more to it and a lot of questions. Yeah, the next couple of weeks are a little crazy with all this NAR stuff, but I definitely want to get, I'd even like to do an interview or something with you that we can put up on the Home Hub where you go into some specific details. There were a lot of questions, but that was the first I had heard about that program. It sounds like a lot of our agents have, but
It's something unique. It's a simple process, but there's a lot of facets to it.
totally. I think everyone's looking for ways to bring value right now.
Right.
I would love to talk to you more about it.
Got my information.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to sit down and.
Awesome.
Whether you want to sit me on the stool, fire away
Yeah.
questions, or just a little more explanation, whatever works.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. So people heard that Mike was gone, and so not very many people came, but I'm glad you're here. You're the most important ones, Zoomers. Glad you're here. How's everybody? How are you feeling? What is the significance about today? What's the significance about tomorrow? Today is the last day before what happens? Everything goes what? Yes. Tomorrow, our MLS, well, everything goes into effect on the 17th, but tomorrow, our local MLS is doing what? They're dropping the field. There's no more field to market your listings on the MLS. So let's go through a couple of these things, but really today I wanted to do a quick review. I'm doing Mike's class on Friday. He's at Mega Camp, so I'm going to do the review through the forms. We are going to do another quick review today. There's an email that we're going to send out later today, but I wanted to go through it thoroughly with you guys today. And then I just want to talk about good old-fashioned business. Let's kind of do a mental reset. I'm so glad you're here, Liz, too, because I've been doing a lot of research of what is working today. How are people building their business today and what's effective? And I'm excited to kind of share with it, and you'll have a lot of insight. I didn't prepare you at all for how you're going to be helping me, but I definitely, this is the time that we utilize the resources that are out there, and what Title has for us is so imperative right now with what's working in building our businesses. So, and Marcel, hey, how are you guys? Okay, yeah, you guys are actually teaching today. So he's trying to mask his fear. Okay, so tell me what is good this week. Any bucket fills? Everything's terrible. There's nothing good to talk about. Okay.
I have something from Zoom.
Hey, state your name, Zoom.
Oh, sorry, it's Annie.
Annie. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Well, Annie. Yes.
I was just going to share that as I have explained this to clients, it's almost been like, you go into it kind of nervous and worried that people are going to reject or question, but it's been so the opposite reaction for me. Like I've had this conversation with probably 4 buyers over the last 2 weeks, and they've all been so receptive and so oh yeah, of course. Well, of course we want you to get paid. Why wouldn't we would never expect you to work for free. And they've just been totally open to it. They're yeah, we'll sign whatever. And just really, really great. So I think that we have this fear around this, but we're over worrying ourselves for nothing.
Thank you so much for saying that, Annie. And people trust you, right? So that's really what it's about, is getting people to
Yeah.
trust you. But I do think you bring up a point that there are probably some hidden big time benefits that come from this, because before we didn't have this conversation because we didn't need to. So we would run into issues with buyers that didn't want to pay us because we never had we didn't typically have the strong conversation of, yeah, I get paid because I'm helping you. And so sometimes when there was a conflict, it made it difficult with buyers, but it gives us an opportunity to be really straightforward about, yeah, we get paid for the value that we bring. So I think this is one of the many benefits that will come from this, just in our conversations shifting to how they probably should have been all along. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else? Anybody else want to share? Yeah, Marcel.
Liz and I've had a good experience with that critical
Crucial conversations?
in critical situations. No, that class really helped us out. We've had a couple situations where we used the principles we learned there. So I thought it was a good
Yay.
class.
Thanks. I'm so glad. Thank you for saying that. We are going to get a book club started. So for those of you that didn't attend the class, anybody can join. Becky, you were there. You came to the class. It's just a good time to help us think, how can we have new conversations, difficult conversations, and be able to state. The thing that impressed me about that class more than anything, I think, was the experiment with the brownies. Were you there when they showed that video of the brownies? Were you there yet? Okay. They had this experiment where they had a girl, like a teenage girl, who made brownies, and they had young kids sitting there, and at the table they had my grandma's recipe brownies, and then they had store-bought brownies. And the girl said, hey, I made these brownies from my grandma's recipe. I want to know. So she's talking to the kids individually. I want to know which one you like better, these brownies that I made or the brownies that I bought at the store. And the brownies that she made, it shows her like dumping all the salt in it on purpose, made them super nasty, right? And you could see the kids' reaction. They were by themselves and they ate the brownies. So when you're by yourself and you don't think anyone's watching, you react in a very real way. And so there were a couple of kids that were dry heaving and they were like spitting it out and stuff. But then when she went face to face and asked them, which brownie do you like better? What do you think they said? Store-bought or her grandma one? Grandma, of course. And then when she offered, oh, I have leftovers, do you want more? All of a sudden, everybody was like full and didn't want one, right? What did that show? Like what was the purpose of that experiment? We don't want to hurt feelings. And we feel very conflicted between the truth, speaking our truth, telling the truth, and being kind. So for me, my biggest takeaway of that class was a structured way to talk and to listen where you can be truthful and kind. You don't have to choose. You can be able to state what it is that you need and what you want in a kind way that can result in a win-win for both sides. You don't have to pick kind or true. Yeah, Marcel.
I think a lot of that goes through because sometimes we deal with people and they are pretty brutally honest.
Yeah,
We
but they
don't-
wear it like as a badge sometimes.
Yes, because we don't know their intent, or maybe they don't know their intent.
Yeah.
So the key there I learned was the intent.
Yeah,
So I went to a conversation last week and we said, hey, this is our intent.
yeah,
We're not coming here to nag on this or say this, but our intent is this. And so it really helped the conversation.
yeah. I love that. Yep, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So we're into the book club. You should come, please. Claire is going to be hosting it for us, and we'll get information out on it soon. We wanted to kind of get past this part of things over the next couple of weeks. Hi, Robin. And then we'll start that. Anything else with this stuff? Okay, happy birthday. Do we have any of these birthday people here?
like that, you know?
Yeah.
There are so many agents that you can't remember who they are. Is there like I mean, I know that there's like the agent directory.
There's the agent directory on the
Mhm.
URE, but it's not necessarily up to date because people are always bouncing around brokerages and stuff. Is there a way that we could maybe through the Home Hub or something have a internal Keller Williams directory?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a realistic thing to ask? Because I know
Yeah,
it's always
because it
changing.
can just feed straight from the list so that it automatically updates. Yeah. We have one on the leadership hub. We should make it public. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I like
Especially like when you get people that respond about an open house or something and you're like,
want to see a face to it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Hi. Okay. So we only need to do 9 boxes here at our office. Do we have an update of how many we have?
Oh.
Do you know how many boxes we have so far?
people that have reported to me, I only have 2.
Okay. So we just need 7 more. When's the deadline?
It is,
Oh, got it.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and I don't need to know like details. I just need to know how many from our brokerage so that our brokerage has a good showing.
I'll go to Costco today. I was just gonna say, if you want to Venmo me, I'll get a box. Here, let me put my Venmo up. And then I'll go get the boxes if you want one. If you want to donate one.
They're about $40. I mean, I don't know exactly how much they are, but that's why they're in so desperate need is that, you know, these families that are trying to make ends meet when you think that it's a box of something they're going to throw away.
Well, and raise your hand if you forgot to pick up the hamster food. So you ended up door dashing it and it was $13 and you spent $40 on hamster food, right? $40 goes so fast where there's people who $40 for their diapers, big deal, right? So I will go to Costco. I will buy what we need. If you want to contribute to get your good karma rolling in strong, Venmo me. And I'll get him. Is that a deal?
Emily, and then you'll just coordinate with me.
I will. And then I'll make sure that your name is on the box that you donated. Deal? Okay. Okay, so I wanted to go through this. We're still we're not going to stop talking about it. It's also we are prepared for what's going on, okay? So we're always here to help you. Like I said, I'm going to do a quick review on a couple of things, and I'm going to be hosting Mike's class on Friday. We've been having really good turnouts on Friday, specifically for questions and going through some real life scenarios. So I think this Friday will be busy once we are full in effect with everything. Question for you. What do you have to do today? Is there anything that's like urgent that has to be done today if you haven't already done it? Okay, get Robin the mic, whoever has the mic. What do we have to do today, Robin?
And tell me if I have it wrong, but I think this is correct. If I have buyers who are not under contract, but they've signed a buyer broker agreement, now called the BBC, unless it's changing again, I need them to sign an addendum related to the settlement. Correct?
Yep. So when I go to the kwhomehub.com and go to Agent Hub and I click go, can you guys see this Zoom? Okay. And then I go over here to the cheat sheet. The first one is your current clients before the change. So if you have somebody under contract, no change.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a seller with a listing agreement that's not under contract, there's an addendum that needs to be signed.
And if you have a buyer who's not
There's an
under
addendum.
contract, but they've signed. So anyone who's signed paperwork that's not under contract needs to do an addendum. Here's a question I had, Emily. 2 of my up and coming listings, I have 3.
Okay.
And 1 hasn't signed anything. So I'm like, I'm not going to send her the addendum. I'll just
Yeah.
send her the new paperwork.
Exactly.
Okay. The other 2 signed paperwork like probably a month or 2 ago.
Yeah,
And they're
within
not
it.
going to list until they actually find a house to buy, but they've prepared their homes. We have photographed their homes. Their media is ready. We can list it the minute they write an offer that gets accepted. They need to do the addendum.
Yep. And I have a couple of examples with verbiage that Mike left. so that we can,
You mean when we send the email with the addendum, you've got a paragraph or a sentence?
no, I have an addendum paragraph, but we can write the paragraph, the sentence. I think a conversation is definitely more
Yeah,
effective.
I do too. But when I'm emailing it ahead of time and saying, hey, let's discuss this today. And if they're like, well, what is it? I want to have something in writing with that email.
So let's go back. We're going to spend some time specifically on that. Let's go back to just getting some of the other stuff out of the way, and then let's spend some time specific to that. So just so you know, we're going to focus next week on sellers, the following week on buyers. But we'll keep these conversations going.
That addendum need to be signed and completed and like sent in before tomorrow or the 17th?
17th. Tomorrow is the field is going away on the MLS, the commission field. Yeah, Rebecca.
One other thing I saw is that if you do have a buyer under contract, you should be printing out your MLS sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, you should do that anyways, but specifically if they
Yes.
have so if you have anybody, print your sheets out because it's gone tomorrow.
Yep. So I ran into a situation, the Park City MLS changed theirs a couple weeks ago, and I went under contract over the weekend on a cabin for my sister. That Monday morning, the agent called me frantic and said, hey, Park City sent us an email and said they eliminated it already without telling them. So then it affected our MLS here. And so I had already saved the MLS listing. Otherwise, it's closing today. I would have had no record of any commission 2-3 weeks ago. So just do that anyway. Just always have that. And then also, as we're negotiating commissions and you're reaching out to the sellers and asking if the seller's offering commission, that you are keeping records of that too. Especially if you have 20 houses that somebody wants to show. They're calling before you show. How are you?
Can I ask you something, Emily?
Yeah.
So I know when you ask for the closing cost, they have some sort of limit of the percentage, how much closing cost you can ask. What is the commission going to be part of that, or it's a separate thing?
It's gonna be specific on the type of loan, what your buyer's looking at. So that's what part of your approval process with your buyers is talking to your lenders about that. Jack.
Sorry, guys. So for your lender, if you put down 5% on a conventional loan, 3% seller contribution is the
Yeah.
max. If they put down 10%, it goes up to 6%.
Yep.
So forth and so on. So that can affect, the amount down can affect the seller max contribution.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that you need to definitely be aware of when you're representing your buyers, having these upfront conversations with your lenders as well. Yeah, Erica.
So that only applies if it's like a seller concession, but if it's like the co-op agreement that's already been allocated in the listing, on the listing side of things, then that doesn't matter, correct?
From what I understand, but I'm gonna 100% on that with everything being new, to have you default to the lender.
Okay.
I don't want to answer that and 100%.
So
What do
I
you
have
think?
a buyer that's under contract, but in a backup position. Do they still have to sign that addendum as well, or only if they move to a different house?
The addendum is for your representation. What are you talking about? Which addendum?
So I have a buyer that's under contract, but in a backup position.
Got it. I would do it. I would get
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's based on when you had the BBC signed. So if there's a chance that they're not going to get that, then I would have them. Okay. So Friday, 11 to 12, I'll be answering some questions. We can meet again. We can go through stuff. We can talk about scenarios. We can role play. We can put some verbiage together. However, you want to chat through things. I think it's going to feel real in the next week or so. So there'll be some stuff coming up. August 15th would be the next one. And that's also it's on our calendar, on the master calendar, I believe. Okay, then we have Ignite is happening next week. So reminder, this is for everyone. You don't have to just be new to go if you want a refresher of any of these things. if you look, it shows who's teaching these classes, and that's a part that is really important. Every one of these instructors are the best at what they do. So if there's something you feel like you need a little bit of refresher on or motivation in, definitely please feel welcome to go. Kimber's teaching the 6 personal perspectives. It's a 2-hour CE. Again, this is a really good thinking class. It's going to be in Salt Lake. I believe the CE is only applicable if you're there live. And then, okay, no meeting for the Wealth Club. Okay. So, let's see. Let's go. Okay. This is what I just referred to. Guys, we're doing so good. I'm gonna put my own name on here because I'll buy one on there. Look, we already got 4. Brock, do you want to donate diapers to kids that don't have diapers, or are you one of those people that don't donate to kids that don't have? Someone said that to me once at the cash register. They said, are you the type, instead of saying, do you want to round up? They said, are you the type of person that donates to kids that have cancer and don't have the financial means to take care of their health? And I'm like, yes, I am. You will. But you just Venmo me $40. Okay, as soon as it comes through, I'll write your name up. All right. Okay. So these are the cheat sheets that we were just talking about. They're up on the Home Hub, and they're going to be there, and we'll adjust it as the timelines pass. But this tells you exactly. So if you have a current seller, current buyer with BBC, this is what you need to do. This is going to go away though, right? Because after the 17th, everybody is signing the new one. So these the addendums to our exclusive listing agreement and exclusive buyer broker, those are temporary. After the 17th, everyone signs the new one. Does that make sense? Okay. I want to go into, Erin, do you want to pass that stuff out now? We got an email from Mike sent me an email where he laid out specifically how he wants us to address a couple of the things. One that keeps coming up, rightfully so, is a lot of our agents are filling out their new listing agreement wrong. The fields are different. The fields look the same, but there is a third part of it, a new clause in the new listing agreement that makes it wrong. So I want to go through that, and then also quickly touch on, if you haven't, how you handle it with an unrepresented buyer. Yeah.
So this came up on a coaching call this morning. So it was a group coaching with people from other states as well. And my question is that when I got the impression from one of the trainings that we've had with Mike, is that he preferred to see us filling out the documents on commission in a way that it keeps it out of the contract. And some of the people were saying that it actually, if we don't have it as part of the contract, that's part of what the NAR got in trouble for, is because it wasn't part of the contract. It wasn't transparent. So now I'm a little confused.
Okay. And you're talking about which part? Can I have
the commission
else
part,
not gonna work.
actually where the buyer's agent is communicating with the seller agent what they expect, and the seller agent is communicating back whether or not the seller would give them that much of a commission? Because Mike talked about how we could just, they ask, is there compensation, and we could send back that form that says yes, and this is what's being offered. But in a situation where the agent isn't doing that, because that's not mandatory, and the buyer's agent is submitting an offer that is not part of the contract to say what they're asking for in commission. Anyway,
I'm gonna go through
I thought I had
exactly-
it all straight. Now I'm all confused.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about exactly what Mike wants us to do. He sent me the examples of how he wants to do it. Do we have that email? Where's the email? Can I get the paper from Brock? So there should be the 3 attachments, right? Okay. This one is just one. It's little. Okay, so I'm going to read this email to help clarify. And we're going to email this out today, but I wanted to go through the biggest two points of confusion on this with a listing agreement that I just want to clear up today. And we'll probably have to talk about it multiple times, which is okay. Okay, so on Wednesday, August 14th, the major change that we have been preparing for will go into effect. Our MLS, UtahRealEstate.com, will remove offers of compensation fields from the multiple listing service. Hopefully, you've been able to attend some of the trainings that we have had and will continue to have over the next few months on these practice changes. The settlement requires brokerages to have specific addendums signed by August 17th. And though I may sound like a broken record, I wanted to put this email together to explain who needs to do what. Number 1, if you have an exclusive buyer broker agreement, EBBA, signed with a client prior to August 5th, when the new EBBA was issued, unless the caveat to that is if you, after the 5th, signed the old one, you need to get an addendum. If you have the old one signed, get an addendum. If you have the new one signed, you don't need an addendum. Okay? And you are not under contract with that buyer, then you need to have the addendum to the EBBA signed by your client and put in the file by August 17th. That form is attached and is printed and it'll be attached to the email. Okay, it's one of the ones that we gave you. In short, it changes the verbiage from the previous EBBA to be in compliance with the settlement. Number 2, if you have an exclusive right to sell, ERS, signed by a client prior to August 5th, again, if you have an old one signed, if you have a new one signed, it's okay. If you have an old one signed, and that listing is not under contract, then you need to have your client sign the addendum prior to August 17th. That form is attached. This form further breaks out the brokerage fee and separates it in a payment to the listing brokerage and an offer of compensation to the buyer's brokerage and removes any mention of the brokerage cooperation on the MLS, okay? That's the change. 3, any buyers or sellers that you have under contract currently, no additional forms need to be signed. It is recommended that if you are under contract with a buyer to print a copy of the MLS form that shows the BBC prior to it going away on the 14th. That means you are protected and the listing brokerage will pay that commission even though it disappears on the 14th. Okay, clear? So there's no additional negotiations or anything that has to happen for anything that went under contract prior to when it dropped off the MLS. Okay. In number 4, in regard to the new listing agreement and the addendum, we talked about this in detail at last Friday's training. Notice the difference from section 2 of the previous listing agreement. In the previous agreement, we put the gross commission being charged to our seller in section 2, and later in that paragraph, it broke it out of the amount cooperative compensation or buyer brokerage fee that the seller authorized us to pay. That worked great in my opinion. So they've changed it in a funky way. Thanks, Becky. So I want to have you. Oh, we printed out a copy of that, so please pull it out. It's this one. Exclusive. This one's the addendum, okay? It's the exclusive right to sell. This part of the verbiage is the same in the new exclusive right to sell agreement. And that's why the purpose of the addendum is to pull that out, okay? Sure. Yeah, it's the same as this one. It actually, yeah, but this part's exactly the same. But yeah, thanks. Check me. This part right here where it has the section 2, this is what the addendum is doing. That's changing the section 2 in the previous listing agreement. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? So this is in the way we did it before is we would break out in this first section what was being sold. I mean, what was being offered as commission. And if there was a compensation for a buyer's agent, that would be broken out in the next section. So previously it was if there was a 6% and there was an agent, that 3% of the 6 goes to the buyer's agent. This is the change. And the reason why it's confusing and causing a little bit of a problem is this 2.3. This part's the change. 2.3 says, I'm going to read it and then you tell me why it's a change and why it's confusing and why agents are, this has been the biggest mistake agents have made with paperwork coming in so far, okay? 2.3, compensation agreement between the company and buyer's brokerage. In the event that the company agrees in a written compensation agreement to pay a buyer's brokerage, the seller agrees that the payment amount will be added to the brokerage fee referenced in section 2.1. The company may not agree to a written compensation agreement that exceeds the authorized amount in section 2.2. What is the problem with that? Why are people getting tripped up? 2.3. Exclusive right to sell, either the addendum or the agreement. So if you have the agreement, it's the same verbiage as the new agreement as it is the addendum to the old one. Erica.
So the difference between this form and the old form is originally we would have put a 6% in the first and broke it down to 3% goes to, or whatever percentage you do. This is an addition to, and if there's no other written agreement, then there's not a buyer compensation.
Yep. So the problem, the thing that is tripping it up is that and the word that says added to. In this section 2.3, added to. So what that is, if you put 6 in section 2.1 and 3 in section 2.2, what you're actually charging your client is 9%. You need to put 3 and 3. So now here comes the question. What if there's an unrepresented, the reason we did it in the past in the old listing agreement is that if it's still going to pay you 6 if there's an unrepresented buyer. So now in the case with the way they've changed this, what do you do if there's an unrepresented buyer? Yeah. So they gave us Amy Gibbons, who is a genius and extremely generous in helping with all this stuff. She gave us an example of some verbiage in the case of an unrepresented buyer. And then Mike has his as well. So we put these on this addendum for you to have a couple of examples of how to address that. So what I would do when I take a listing agreement, I'm going to get the new listing agreement signed and this addendum signed at the same time. Already having the conversation at the same time that, hey, if there is a buyer that's unrepresented, this is how it's handled. So I'm not going to wait until we get an unrepresented buyer. I'm getting this addendum signed when I get the listing agreement signed. Okay? To address it. Yeah, Rebecca.
Okay, so when we're talking about unrepresented buyers, we're not saying we're going to be representing them as well as like a limited agent. We're just saying we are writing up the contract for them just because that's our due diligence and our fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah.
But they are going to be in charge of their own, like I'm still your exclusive agent. That
Yeah.
was not a limited agent.
Correct.
Okay.
So sample verbiage 1 is if the buyer is represented by an agent being compensated either on the rep fee by the seller or in section 2.2 of the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, the listing brokerage fee in section 2.1 shall be X. Yeah, so that's where you put your, if in the example of 3 and 3, maybe it is going to be 6. Maybe you are taking the full amount if there's an unrepresented buyer. Should you? You absolutely can. I want to like really stress too, because I know we're trying to wrap our head around all this stuff. I really want to stress and emphasize, don't diminish your value. You don't have to come in at a low commission amount lower than what you offer typically because of the changes. Certain situations and circumstances may, you know, present itself where you do need to, and it's your business and you decide to do that. I just want, a fear of mine is that we will feel a little panicky, and rather than having a crucial conversation and explaining our value and our intent and finding out what their intent is and what it is that they need and how we can help them, that we lead with, I'll do it. sorry for the inconvenience. I'll do it for a discount. Sorry. Almost apologetically diminishing our value by reducing our commission. Let's go to Rebecca and then Jack. One sec.
Okay, so one other question with that. So say if you were going to represent them as a limited agent, would you on the 2.1 then put 6%?
Yeah.
Or would you put still 3 and 3 saying I'm representing the buyer at 3 and I'm
Well, you're
representing-"
saying in the,
So
you
I'm
want,
saying if somebody comes and they say, I don't have an agent, but I want
Right.
you to represent me, and they
Yeah.
don't want to come in unrepresented. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be a limited agent. Don't actually do-
honestly, there is a really good chance that these changes are gonna limit or eliminate limited agency.
Yeah, I don't.
So in the case of limited agency right now of representing both sides, I think we take it on a case by case, and let's talk to Mike about it. It's just a little complicated. Okay, so that's an example of verbiage. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is something that Edge Homes has been grappling with. If you have a buyer, broker compensation agreement that says 2%, and the seller is offering 3, which one do we do? Do we pay the 3 or do we honor your buyer broker commission? So those are questions that, that affect us. And if it's me, again, to your point, I don't diminish my value and
Yeah.
I ask for whatever commission, whether that's 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, since there's no standard commission, yada,
Yep,
yada,
there's
yada.
no,
But yeah, which one do we honor?
Yeah.
If you have a buyer broker that says 2% and we would have otherwise offered
you have
3,
to honor it. You can't pay more. Yeah.
interesting. So that's the challenge that we've got.
So it's got to be up to, yeah, I'm in the same situation with my builder too.
Yeah.
Because we're used to offering like incentives to builders, to agents that bring buyers and stuff. Can't do any of that anymore.
Yeah. So you now set your value.
Yep. Okay, so sample verbiage 2. Seller understands and agrees that if the seller accepts an offer from a buyer where the offer of compensation to buyer's brokerage in section 2.2 is being paid, the seller's brokerage fee referenced in section 2.1 shall be X, whatever that amount is. So the biggest thing to stress with this is that you're having the conversation that there is a scenario out there. A not uncommon scenario. It is fairly common that there's a buyer that's not represented. You're having the conversation at the time that you're getting the what signed. We're representing sellers. We're talking about the listing. When you get the listing agreement signed, yes, you want to get this addendum signed. The other thing that he put down here is seller instructs the company to not submit the property to the MLS until the listing is publicly marketed. So that's just a way to get around the 5 days, right? That's required to get it up. Any questions about this? Okay, that's okay.
The first two, what the heck is the difference in the first two? I see like 3 different words,
Yeah.
but I can't understand.
So in section 2.1 and section 2.2, those are the same. It's 2.3 that messes the whole thing
No, I'm
up.
talking about this. Talking about
Oh,
what you just read.
yeah. So the
Sample
difference
verbiage
is
1 and sample verbiage 2. What the heck are these scenarios? They're
it's saying the same thing. It's just
know,
two
so why?
examples of verbiage. So you can just use,
oh, just pick one.
just pick one.
I
Yeah,
was
you're
like,
not doing both. Thank
oh,
you
okay,
for-
that's why I'm
Thank you for
confused.
saying that. Thank you for saying that. No, Amy Gibbons just wrote what she's been doing, and Mike Carmody put what he.
So they mean the same thing.
She-
Oh
two
my gosh,
examples
thank
of
you.
how to do it. I
It does say
remember.
sample. I should have read the word
Sample
sample better.
verbiage one,
But
sample
I was
verbiage
like,
two.
why are we doing both of these? They
We're
sound the
not,
same.
we're not doing both. I'll make sure that that's clear in the email as well. Okay, so back to his email, it says, so let's say you charge a 6% brokerage fee. If you put 6% in section 2.1 and then your seller decides to allow you to offer 3% compensation to buyer's brokerage in section 2.2, if that commission to a buyer's brokerage does indeed get paid, then per section 2.3, it gets added to the 2.1 where your seller could be on the hook for 9% commission. Now, I know that's probably not what you are intending, but we have to use reasonable care to explain this to our clients. So if you want to charge a 6% commission and you want the seller to allow you to offer half of that as buyer broker compensation, then put 3% in section 2.2. then you would fill out section 2.1 is 3%. The caveat to doing it this way is in the event you get an offer from an unrepresented buyer. So it's okay if you do 3 and 3, if it's an unrepresented buyer, because that would be 6 to you. It'd be 3 to them, 3 to you, and it's a 6 total rather than a 9 total. It's just when there's an unrepresented buyer that it gets messed up, okay? The caveat to doing it this way is in the event you get an offer from an unrepresented buyer. There is no buyer brokerage compensation being paid in that case, so you are therefore only charging the seller the amount that you have in section 2.1, which is 3%. If that is okay, then you need to do nothing else. If you want to charge more in the event that you get an unrepresented buyer, then you can do an addendum to the listing agreement, and he's given 2 verbiage options that you could use to have upfront agreement that you will get paid more in the event of an unrepresented buyer. So if you want to get more than the 3%, that's spelled out. That's why we're doing it on the addendum. Okay, you can put the amount that would be. Let's say that in the case where I charge a 6% commission and I get authorization, this is another thing I really want to stress is when we're having these conversations, we're talking about the seller is offering commission. The buyer is offering commission, right? It's between the seller and the buyer. That needs to be a part of our vernacular now, right? And that is how it always was. We didn't explain it necessarily in those terms, and that matters now, okay? So the seller is offering to pay the buyer's agent.
So that was another thing that came up on our call. There supposedly is a form or has come out from the NAR that actually still uses the verbiage, seller's brokerage to buyer's brokerage, which my understanding was that was the whole point of the settlement, is that it's not.
No,
the
you still
brokerages.
do that because an agent can't get paid directly.
Okay,
So that still is there because it's really the seller is offering to pay the buyer's brokerage. The buyer's paying the buyer's agent brokerage. Right?
so then so which verbiage is it? So then if
It's the brokerage, it goes to the brokerage.
so then if we're saying it's the seller offering the buyer, it's not really.
It's seller offering the buyer's agent to be
Brokerage.
paid to the brokerage.
Okay. Well,
It is getting paid to the agent through the brokerage.
right. I'm just trying to make sure that I have the right verbiage because
You
saying
don't
that it's
need
between the
that.
seller and buyer,
Yeah.
it's not right either.
Yep. If you have a question when you're writing up your verbiage, take a picture of it
Uh-huh.
and text it to me or Mike, and we'll.
Well, it's not just written though. It's like you said, we need to have this part of our conversations. And so I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly in the conversation.
All you need to know, also our clients are not agents. Don't get so tripped up on these specific words with them that they don't know what the hell is going on.
Well,
It's
that's
just
what
the
we're working.
seller may opt to compensate. They're going to compensate. They choose to compensate you for listing the property. They may opt to compensate the agent
That brought
representing the buyer, and the
Mhm.
compensation goes to the buyer, to the brokerage of the buyer's agent.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. Ultimately, you have the choice to charge your client what you choose. I want to make sure you're having the correct conversation and that sellers understand who is getting paid and how much. Number 5, buyer's agents after Wednesday. After you print a list of houses to show your buyer, call or text the listing agent and ask if they are offering cooperative compensation. If they are and your client is interested in the house, fill out the brokerage compensation agreement and send it to the listing agent. I think we will all be pleasantly surprised to see how many sellers, listing brokers are going to continue to offer cooperative compensation. Listing agents, answer your phone. Oh my gosh, that is so true. Yeah.
Do you think it's better to call them and ask or to text them
Okay,
and
so
have the written?
I did want to,
through?
thank you for saying that. Conversations are always very helpful. Send a follow-up text or a follow-up email. As per our conversation, it's my understanding this. Also to help you, if you have 10 houses they're going to see, to help you keep track of that, because and this is a part of your strategy going forward. When you have a buyer, you understand what they're qualified for, you understand what type of loan they're doing and you have a good sense of that, the price point and all of that. Then when you are scheduling the showings, you're finding out what the compensation is because that affects the buyer. Because ultimately it's their responsibility to pay you. Okay. And so then you can say, all right, we have all of these houses. What if there is a house that works for them that the seller is not offering compensation to the buyer's agent? What do? Yeah. Yeah. There are two very distinct things happening. There's the associations that got sued and made the changes. There's another entity that governs us and they govern our license. What is that? The Division of Real Estate. The Division of Real Estate has nothing to do with any of this stuff. It's not, this isn't their battle, it's not it. The Division of Real Estate says your fiduciary duty is to show any property that is important, that fits what your buyer needs. So you have to have already had the conversation with the buyer. They're paying the commission, right? So showing these properties that may affect what they have, they may not want to see it. They may want to see properties that they don't have to pay the commission, but that's completely up to them. It's not up to you to not show them that house if it's one that could work for them. They need to have the opportunity to decline it and choose the way they're going to compensate you. They're going to compensate you out of their pocket, or they're going to compensate you through a cooperative commission agreement being offered from the seller. Does that make sense when we talk about it in those terms? That's still coming from the buyer. That's still buyer. So whether the buyer pays it, whether the buyer pays for it out of pocket or it's something that's added to their loan, that's still the buyer paying you. I would not say it that way. I would not present it that way. I would not set the expectation that it can happen that way. If your buyer doesn't have the money to pay for commissions, you talk to the lender and find out what their options are. I don't want to give any more information besides that. Do you want to?
Right now,
Yeah.
you can't finance commissions right now. What you can do is get concessions above and beyond what you used to be able to get in concessions that can now go to pay for the agent commission. So like on a conventional loan, if you were doing less than 10% down, you were capped at 3%. Now you could theoretically get 3% plus whatever your commission is, and your commission concession from the seller doesn't go towards our 3% interested party contribution limit. But we're not funding any portion of the commission. Like it's not truly financed. There are some, we're working on some stuff where it's truly from the loan, like our loan to value will be higher than normal to pay for that, but nothing yet.
Yeah, there's nothing yet. Thanks for clarifying that. So just be careful because there's a lot of like chatter. Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Brock. The lender can't pay commission.
Right.
So Brock was saying a lender can't pay a commission, but a buyer can ask for extra concessions, which are typically paid to close. A seller adds money to pay for the buyer's closing costs or a temporary interest rate buy down.
Yeah.
And are we saying there's a third branch sort of those concessions?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh. Oh, you're the concessions on.
And does that mean that the buyer would have more money from the seller to pay more of their fees so that the buyer out of their own pocket can afford the commission?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they can pay for their. It's changing. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I thought you couldn't pay for commissions.
No, it all goes.
Oh, the
they're not
seller
paying
is. Oh, yeah, the
commissions.
seller's
So
still
this
paying it.
is
We
all
can't
the
hear what
tax-
Brock is saying.
What?
We can't hear it. What is Brock saying?
Oh, Brock needs a microphone. Hold
Okay.
it closer, Brock.
So just to reiterate, you can, okay, I think the way it might go, and of course, time will tell. Maybe a seller's saying, I refuse to pay the buyer brokerage commission. Maybe a seller's saying that. So your the listing agent tells you they're not offering that to you. So your buyer has to pay it. You could just go submit the offer theoretically and ask for concessions sufficient to cover the buyer's closing costs and any rate buy down they want and your commission. There are still limitations to it, but it's more than the old limitations we're used to dealing with.
Yeah.
Like 6% on FHA and 4% on VA, so on and so forth. It can be above and beyond those previous limitations. And then you could theoretically use a portion of any amount of those concessions to go towards crediting the buyer to cover your commission that they are paying. Sellers.
Let's go to, sorry, Brock. Let's go to Jack first.
Similarly, in new construction, let's say you run up against the issue where you're only putting 5% down, seller can only contribute 3%. The way you would represent that, if you were able to procure and negotiate other concessions, you would simply reduce the purchase price and just say purchase price to be and have no verbiage that says purchase price to be as a seller concession for yada, yada, yada. You would simply reduce the purchase price below list by
Reduce the
2 or
concession.
5 or
Yeah.
10K and maintain your 3% concessions. So same, but just to fit within lender guidelines, you've got to do it that way.
It's gonna work its way through on a case by case. And we're gonna help you.
Did
You
that
have
make
such
sense?
a team. You have such a team.
Okay, so the way I understand it is the commission being paid out to the buyer agent is not if that's coming from a seller concession, it's not calculated into the allotted 3% if it's 10% down. So is the lender gonna want that itemized on an addendum? So like
I would-
3% of the seller's concession is going towards the buyer's agent commission type of a thing.
I would say the lenders, we're definitely going to need it if it's in excess of the allowable concessions. It's going to have to be described. Otherwise, the underwriter's going to come back and say you're over.
That's way too much.
Yeah, you're over the limitations for interested party contributions. But what they've said is that buyer agent commission paid by the seller by virtue of a concession is not considered an interested party contribution.
Okay,
So
that's clear. Thanks.
Just to follow up, so what would be the difference then of just saying that the seller is paying 3%? I mean, if we're putting it on an addendum anyways, wouldn't it be the same thing of just saying that they're gonna pay concession or pay commissions of 3%? Because if we have to write it to an addendum, because I'm assuming we're writing it in like a full 7% to try and get around the sellers thinking we're getting commission, but then if we're writing it in an addendum, then it kind of equals out that they're gonna know about it anyways. Is that,
I would
am
see
I
it,
wrong in that
I'd
thinking?
see it being a difference of when the listing agreement's signed, the seller's saying, I don't want to offer a buyer agent commission unless a buyer agent is going to ask for it. And so the listing agreement's already signed, it's
Got
already
it,
in
yeah.
place. Then the buyer agent says, no, I want a buyer agent commission. Now instead, because the listing agreement's already intact, now we're negotiating it into a Rep C, which is the commission
Yes.
agreement.
So
It's not a co-op
That's
agreement.
that's the number one difference.
I think maybe just to speak to her question, what she's saying is the seller going to be willing to sign that addendum clarifying that a portion is going to the buyer agent? And maybe if you run into an issue, us as lenders could just use the CD to prove that we're not
Oh,
exceeding
that's
the
helpful.
interested party contributions. So if it becomes an issue, we can probably figure it out.
Okay, let's do the last one. We're gonna spend time on Friday, but I want to give another thought before.
And the same thing as it relates to new construction, the 3% seller concession is already outlined in the Rep C, and that's why there's not that distinction. And so then you would sign behind the scenes a buyer's agent compensation agreement, so it comes out. Same question.
So let's talk about it on Friday. Guys, come on Friday. We can chat more through it. We've got our lunchtime people coming down, the people that come when the food arrives coming down. So I want to do one more thought, okay? Pretend this is your first day, okay? And I just want you to hang with me for a minute. We all decided we're starting a business. Will you guys start a business with me? Your answer is yes. You know me. We're going to start a business together. What do we want to do? What's our business? What are we going to do? Throw out a business. What? We're going to sell ice cream. Okay. Great. we all agreed, right? We're selling ice cream. This is going to be amazing. We are doing an ice cream business. What do we need to know to sell ice cream? Okay. We got to get our product, right? We need to determine what our product is. What else? So more than just the cost of the product, right? We have other expenses. How are we going to sell it? Location. Okay, so really, like, how are we going to get the message to the who? How are we going to tell? We need to know who we're going to tell what to, right? What else? Who's our team? Like, who's our customer? And then also, yeah, what are we going to do? What are our goals, right? So identify who our team is. Okay. We can figure it out. Do you feel like we can figure this out? One other thing I would say is who's already doing it well.
Killing it and who's not? And maybe look at why. What is someone doing right? What is someone missing?
And then strategize to set us apart in the sense of like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing and it's working, but like, let's make it our own. Using the ideas that they've kind of proven is working, but make it individual to our clientele, to our audience, to our team as well.
Best practices. Okay. I kind of feel like we could do it. We have a loose, what would you call it? Business plan? Would you call this a loose business plan? Okay, what should we do first? Okay.
And I mean, I'm saying it somewhat facetiously, but I mean it seriously, like the competition, we want to see what other people are doing and decide what we do and don't want to do based on what other people are doing.
Okay.
Ice cream's not a new product.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we need to structure it as a business, right? We need to have an understanding what our business plan is, what we're selling, what it's going to cost us, in order to know what we can project, right? Forward. We need to be able to, can you create a predictable business where you can project how much are we going to sell? We should be able to, right? We've got a lot of stuff that we need to figure out first in order to do that, but we should be able to, right? There is this woman that started this clothing company called Nasty Gal. Have you heard of that? And she wrote this book and it was a New York Times bestseller, awesome book. She was speaking all over the country. Within a year, she was totally bankrupt. Have you guys heard this story? She had big investors. They did over $20 million in net revenue, which was a big deal in clothing. She had a lot of investors, and at their big event planning for the next year, she said, we did 20 million, let's do 40 this year. And her investors pulled out. Any idea why they would have pulled out? And she goes bankrupt. Yeah, it was just, there was no strategy, there was no plan. There was no daily accountability plan strategy based on actual research and results of being able to have a predictable business. Do you feel like we're in unpredictable times to some degree, right? With a lot of changes. Do you feel like we can set a predictable business plan where we can have a predictable income in real estate? Do you have this outlined for your real estate business? Are we the sling in real estate? Do we have the answers to this? Do we know what our product is? Do we know what the cost is? The regulations, I'd say the cost of what's selling right now. What are the days on market? What is happening with that, Davies?
I would say that even in this time of uncertainty, that we can, if we have our business systems in place, that we may not be able to predict the dollar value that we'll earn because there's so many variables going on right now, but we can definitely predict the volume of business. So our systems, if we're working them correctly, we should expect a certain number of transactions because that's what our system produces, even if we're not able to project completely what the dollar amount will be because we're still working out how that's going to.
Well, and
together.
yeah, thank you for saying that. And you can say that for any business, right? So in our ice cream shop, we have all this idea. We do tests. We figure out what the best flavors are going to be. We double down on these flavors because we think they're going to be the most popular. We have no way of knowing exactly what's going to end up being the most popular, how the trends are going to change. In any business that there are unknowns, there are things that are unpredictable. But there's also something that's very common is every business can dictate what they do every day. Are we every single day making steps and controlling the things that we can control and every single day doing the criticals to build our business? Because if we're predictable in our actions, our business will be predictable. I am telling you, I talk to so many agents, whether you're brand new or you've been doing this for 20 years like me, there is a lot of this in our business. And the caveat with it, in my experience, has been as soon as our daily activities do this, our business does this. Right? Yeah.
Just in for what you're talking about, I was talking to Rich the other day. I don't know if he'll get mad at me for saying this, but he's noticed that in his business, it's a lot of highs and lows.
Yeah.
And that his goal is to take it. He wants to hit a high, but he doesn't want to go to the Logan. He wants to go to the high, keep it there, and keep going up to make a steady process. And kind of in what you're saying, make a predictable business. And just in conversations and in looking at everything, in any business, there's key indicators that perform or that measure your performance or your success.
Yeah.
In any business. And so any day that you're in business, as long as you're doing an activity that goes towards those key indicators of those things, then you can make sure that you're making a predictable business because you're giving yourself data to back up your own business.
Okay, thank you for saying that. And we cut through all of that for you. We know what that is, right? And this is where I was saying earlier with title, how they really come into play. I've been doing some research on what's working today, what are getting the biggest results. And I have these 5 things that they're saying. First, expired listings with a twist. So having intent, I'll send this out so you guys have it, or we'll put it up on the Home Hub, but it has with your expired listings where it goes through and it's asking the client, there are 3 things that determine if your home's going to sell. It's price, it's marketing, did it get enough exposure? Is it, oh, this one's kind of hard to read. Sorry, I'll get it out to you, but there's also the next one is direct mail reimagined. So the direct mail component that we've stopped doing, we haven't needed to do it since 2021. We've kind of stopped that. There's a big resurgence in that. They're noticing some now people want information, right? And there's a lot of chatter and a lot of talk. So did you know that title can pull a demographic and a geographic list for you? They had an awesome class scheduled and we canceled it because of all this stuff happening, but we're going to get that. I don't know if you've rescheduled yet for farm, but we're going to do that. We got to get that because I'm challenging you guys to get a farm area to get your message and get it out to people. Okay. What? Oh, when is it? Do we know?
Yeah, kind of just what Emily is going over. We have a lot of tools that can get you guys targeted lists of exactly what you're looking for. I find often with farming software, people don't use it because you can't narrow it down and be really specific. And so with our farming software, you can narrow things down and find the most likely to sell in your area, and finding listings is really important right now. And we have a software within our software where you can buy very affordable leads, where you can find out equity information. You can get scrubbed phone numbers. We have tons and tons and tons of tools. So highly recommend you come to our class. It's mainly to get your brain going on what is possible. And then we suggest that you sit down with us, because we don't want to just give you the software. We want to strategize with
Yeah.
you so we can make a plan that works for you and your business, because what works for one realtor isn't going to work for you.
Yeah.
So,
And it is working, right? And this is stuff that we need. Do you want to say something?
I just wanted to give like an endorsement to that idea. My neighbor didn't tell any of us that he was selling. Otherwise, I would have tried to get somebody here, a referral. But he ended up selling, and the agent he listed with, I know, is not his go-to agent, because his son just bought a house, which go-to agent. He bought his house from that go-to agent. But the agent he listed with was the guy that we constantly get mailers from every single month of his evidence of success. He sold a house in this area, sold a house in this area. He doesn't even know this guy. He hired him on a whim on a $2.5 million listing. Like, he could have sent those flyers for 200 years and been profitable. So
that's
works.
working. Yep, it works. The other thing is seller activation emails. This is kind of a newer thing. It's just a different form of a list, essentially. Getting email addresses. It's the constant communication about what's going on and talking about real stories that are happening. Then there is using part of that too. So appointment letters. So when you have an appointment in an area that you're doing an actual letter that you're either mailing or dropping off that says, hey, I have an appointment. It's essentially marketing your listing before you take the listing. I have an appointment in your community. This day I'm going to be in the area. I'd be happy to do some research for you while I'm at it, while I'm right in the middle of this in your community. I'd love to let you know, give a little bit of information. Did you know, blah, 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 whatever is significant in that community that's happening. Then the fifth one is circle dialing scripts. And they were talking about using information, looking up. So you can look up and see on like a tax ID, or you can go, or the tax data, or you can go to even Zillow. I know we hate talking about that, but you can go on Zillow, you can click and you can see what a home has sold for in the past, or you can just search it on the MLS. And you can use any of that kind of information that tells a story, like, hey, this was listed for this, but it actually sold for this, or any examples or stories from your own experience that's showing them your value, because these are people that you don't know yet, right? Why would somebody want to talk to you? So I'll get this all sent out to you. I know our food is a little bit late, but it's on its way. The reason that I'm talking about all of this specifically is because, like I said, we want to really keep focused on business real estate. We'll figure out the verbiage and the contracts. We got that, okay? We'll figure it out. Case by case basis. We'll have a conversation about every single buyer broker if you want us to. But your daily activities, if we only picked this and we focused all of our time on the regulations for ice cream, we're going to start a business of ice cream, and every single one of us, we're going to all be on the regulations team, and that's all we're doing. How successful is our business going to be? We don't have anyone to talk to if we're not growing that list of people that we talk to. If we don't understand our product, we don't understand how to market the product, right? Then there's no sense in knowing the regulation and that sort of thing. So we're doing this 75 hard contest starting today. And the reason for this, these are all things you can do. These are all things that create a predictable business. So we put it together. We worked with the ALC. We spent a lot of time on it to put together the list that's doable. It's a balance between something that's going to push you and something that you're going to not just give up on quick. So have 10 real estate related conversations every day. Is this something you can do? Is a text message back and forth a conversation? Yes. Send one CMA per day. What's it, like, we gave a few examples of CMA. Is a CMA a form that's like 5-6 pages? That's one way of doing it. It's essentially having a conversation about the value of somebody's home every day, one time. Can you do that? One time every day. Oh, this is the old one. We took the open house off. One open house per week. I didn't realize that was still on there, but you can do that. That'd be great. I'll make sure you have the updated one. Add 2 people to your database. This includes socials. Are you communicating on the socials positively about what's going on? Are you educating and are you reinforcing value? Agent referral contact. So this is really easy through command. You can go and you can just select an area. You could do Park City, you could do Davis County, you could do anywhere in this area where you're having some sort of a conversation out of state or in state, some sort of reach out for a referral. There's still a lot of referrals coming here. One personalized card. You can get information of a card that you should write from things that are happening in social media that you notice. People put events on social media, good, bad, all of the things, okay, that are going on. Maybe it's somebody that just popped into your head. You have to follow those instincts that pop into your head. Every day, can you write one card? One card. And then 5 pages from 5 pages of a business building book. So we gave some examples. Or you can listen to 10 minutes of a podcast or an ebook, either 5 pages or 10 minutes of some sort of business or mindset every day. So we have these QR codes. If you scan it, it'll sign you up where you can fill it out and say, yes, I'm interested. I do want to do this. If you are phenomenal every single day in doing the activities to build your business 5 days a week, 5 days is what I mean by every single day, then don't do it. But if you need some help, let's get into the habits of building your business every day. Will you do it? I can't tell. You're doing it. Yep. Yeah, so we'll send you the link with all the stuff by the end of this week. And it goes until around Thanksgiving. So we've mapped it out to kind of help build your momentum through to help carry through the rest of this year and then building into the next year. So as you're going through and you're thinking about your daily activities and things like that, and you're thinking about your business, if you're not where you want to be, please, I'm encouraging you to take a little inventory on yourself. Look back the last day, the last week, the last month, the last 6 months, the last year. Can I honestly say that I showed up every day here, whether physically or here? Did I show up every day and did I spend time on the criticals? And if you look at this list on these 10 real estate related conversations, that basically knocks out all the rest of them, right? So it's totally doable. I believe in you. The food's not here yet. What do you want to talk about? Okay.
Okay, so I'm super excited. You taking actually off the open house makes all the difference.
Yeah, we're taking it off.
That was one I just didn't feel like I could sign up for, but so I'm actually really excited about this now. But my question is when we are, is the intention that we're doing it daily and we have to start over, or because obviously at the end of the day, what matters is that our business is improving. So if we know we're doing like vacation or something like that, do you want us to do like 3 cards the day before we leave?
Yeah.
Or like, what are you wanting us to do?
Pace it. So you have, if we're doing 5 days, you have 5 of 7 days. So if you're not hitting it on a Tuesday, guess who's working all day Saturday? Right? Or, I mean, is this going to take you all day to do these things? The answer is absolutely not. But you're going to have to take the time on Saturday or Sunday if you missed another day, or if you work every Saturday and you're taking another day, however you want to do it. And you can do it ahead of time before you go on vacation, just like It really is to get you back into the habit of controlling your daily activities to help get your business consistent. Yeah. Any other questions?
How will we track?
So there, with the email that'll go out, it'll give you instructions on how you can put the applet on your phone. And so every day you just go in and you just record the numbers in the phone, and it goes to a spreadsheet. So you'll be assigned to a team, and you'll have a team leader that looks at your results at the end of the week or every day and reaches out and says, hey, where are you at? You gonna do this? Help hold you accountable to it. So I just need to get you signed up that you want to do it, and then we'll get the email out and everything and get started. Does that sound good? Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll double check. No worries. Food come in? Okay, cool.
Hi. Okay, this is off the subject, but I was going to send a video out to everyone, but I'll do it here to start with. So I am the chair. I'm on the ALC for KW Cares, and our accounts are getting low. And so I came up with some fun ideas, but I'm going to need some help. One of them was a cornhole tournament out in the parking lot. We'll do it on a weekday. I need cornhole boards and somebody who knows more about cornhole than I do.
Okay.
But I thought that would be kind of fun, and you could bring your spouse or if you wanted to invite any of your clients who maybe are into it, it could be like a fun thing. We'll have a buy-in, and all the money will go to KW Cares. And then the other idea that we're kind of thinking about is doing some kind of a pickleball. Pickleball. Everybody loves it. And I have a friend who's very into it, and she was like, it'd be so fun, so easy. It could be a buy-in. You can invite your clients. And so I'm kind of thinking about doing that. So if you know anything about either one of those two things, I thought it would be kind of different, something fun, and a way for us to raise money for KW Cares. So
I have two names for you.
Okay.
Sean Caldwell, Jason Judd.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Two are big time picklies.
I love it. So if you're hearing my voice and you're anywhere, I'm
Oh, is
Rebecca
she?
Turpin. Come find me if you know anything about either one of those things or want to help me put it together. I would love the help. Or if you want to be on the committee of KW Cares, that would also be amazing.
Cool. Thank you so much. We have people that need help. So all that money goes 100% to our people to help them with stuff. Well, okay, that's it for me, but let's just hang out. If you want to eat, we'd love for you to. Thanks for coming. I'll see you on Friday. If you have more questions, we'll spend all the time we need for this stuff, okay? Thank you. Good to see you. See you. Great. Good. How are you? Oh, food.